You're sitting in a meeting at 2 p.m., not a crisis meeting, not a high-stakes negotiation, a regular Tuesday meeting about quarterly numbers. And you realize, mid-sentence, that you have absolutely no idea what the last 3 minutes contained. Your eyes were open, you were nodding, you were technically present, but the lights were on and nobody was home, and the worst part is you didn't even feel yourself leave. That wasn't distraction. That wasn't boredom. That was your brain, mid-conversation, physically ejecting its own fluid out of your skull and going briefly offline. And it happened because you slept 5 hours last night, and the night before, and probably the night before that. Here's what actually happened in there. Most people think sleep deprivation is a volume knob. You get less sleep, you turn down a little, you feel a little foggy, you push through with enough coffee and you're basically fine. This is one of the most expensive lies your biology has ever told you. What's actually happening inside a sleep-deprived brain isn't a dimmer switch. It's closer to what happens when you slowly swap out the load-bearing bolts in a bridge for cheaper ones, one at a time, while the traffic keeps moving. Everything looks structurally intact right up until it isn't. Let's start with your synapses, because this is where the story gets genuinely disturbing. Your brain runs on roughly 100 trillion synaptic connections, little junctions where neurons talk to each other, pass information, encode memory. They're not all the same. Synapses come in different types, different speeds, different specialties, and that diversity is the point. Healthy synapse variety in your cortex and hippocampus is the difference between a full orchestra and a room full of the same instrument playing the same note. After 6 hours of sleep deprivation, not 2 days, not a week, 6 hours, your brain starts collapsing that diversity, specifically in the regions responsible for learning and memory. The fast-recycling, high-performance synapses get replaced by slower, sluggish ones. The total count stays the same, so nothing looks obviously broken from the outside, but the quality of the signal drops. The orchestra starts sounding like a single droning instrument, and you walk into that meeting unable to retain what just happened in front of you, and you think you're distracted, but your hardware is actually degraded. Your brain is quietly becoming a worse instrument. Now here's where the MIT researchers handed everyone a nightmare they didn't ask for. During the attention lapses, those blank wall moments where your eyes are open and your brain has left the building, cerebrospinal fluid, the liquid your brain is literally suspended in, surges out of your skull in a measurable wave. Then, after the lapse, it flows back in. MIT caught this on imaging. The fluid is leaving right as focus disappears, like your brain is hitting a biological eject button, dumping its own cushioning fluid and going briefly dark. This is not a metaphor. This is fluid dynamics inside your head, synchronized with cognitive failure, visible on a scanner. You felt that blankness in the meeting like a hiccup. Your brain experienced it like a small internal tide going out. Congratulations. You're basically a biological lava lamp when you're tired. And here's the part where people get genuinely angry, because the "I only need 5 or 6 hours, I've adapted" crowd is about to have a bad afternoon. 14 nights of sleeping, 4 hours equals 2 full nights of zero sleep in terms of measurable cognitive damage, reaction time, accuracy, the ability to catch errors before they become catastrophic. 14 nights, that's not a bender. That's a work sprint. That's the month you launched something. And the insidious part is that you don't feel as wrecked as you would after 2 full sleepless nights, because your brain has adapted to functioning impaired. Your subjective sense of how terrible you feel has decoupled from how terrible you actually are. You feel like a 6, you're performing like a 2, and you're driving a car, running a meeting, making financial decisions, and telling yourself you're fine. You are not fine. You are the bridge with cheaper bolts. But the cruelest piece of this is the one nobody talks about at the productivity seminars. There's a protein called pleiotrophin, PTN, that your hippocampus depends on to keep its neurons alive. Sleep is one of the primary things that maintains PTN levels. When you chronically shortchange sleep, PTN drops. When PTN drops, hippocampal neurons start dying. Not metaphorically struggling, not temporarily suppressed. And here is the part that should make you put down whatever you're doing. The same drop in PTN that occurs with chronic sleep deprivation has been flagged as a genetic risk factor in Alzheimer's disease, the same protein, the same pathway, the same cells. You are not banking productivity by sleeping less. You are making withdrawals from an account you cannot refill, in a currency you won't know you spent until your memory starts eating itself from the inside. That's not a metaphor for aging. That's a mechanism. It's already running. So what do you actually do with this information in a world where sleep debt is treated like a personality trait? Imagine it's Sunday night and you've had a brutal week, 5 hours a night for 4 days straight. You feel that specific kind of tired that sits behind your eyes like warm sand. Here's what your brain actually needs. Not a single long recovery sleep, but 2 to 3 nights of 9 hours, because partial sleep restriction takes longer to reverse than total deprivation. Your brain has adapted to impairment, and that adaptation doesn't unwind in one night. It takes sustained input to rebuild the synapse diversity, restore the fluid dynamics, bring PTN back online. You can feel this working if you pay attention. That first morning you wake up and your thoughts feel like they have edges again, like the signal got crisper. That's not your imagination. That's your hippocampus getting its scaffolding back. The recovery isn't a luxury. It's structural repair, and during the stretches when you can't get ahead of it, travel, a sick kid, a deadline that doesn't care about your neurobiology, the most useful thing you can do is stop trusting your own assessment of your performance. You will feel more capable than you are. This is the adaptation. It's your brain telling you the bridge is fine while it's quietly swapping bolts. So you slow down on the things where errors compound, financial decisions, critical conversations, anything where a mistake at step 3 makes steps 4 through 10 wrong. Not because you're broken, because your instrument is temporarily degraded and you are honest enough to account for it. That's not weakness. That's someone who actually read the manual. Sleep isn't the thing you do when you've finished being productive. It's the maintenance window that makes productivity physically possible, and skipping it doesn't borrow time from tomorrow. It carves pieces out of the brain you're going to need to be yourself in 10 years.